Hi, I'm Amy Porter, and this is my podcast.
Hi, guys.
My mission is to show people how to empower themselves through music, business, and media. I try to see as clearly as possible how I can help. I showcase the music that I've played and the people I've met along the way. I'm a wife and a stepmom. You might know me as a professor, a performer, a producer, a publisher, a recording artist. I'm the founder of a couple of nonprofits. Welcome in to my PorterFlute Pod. Welcome to PorterFlute Pod. It's Season 8, Episode 9. And with me in the podcast today, flutist Philippe Barnes. He's one of the leading experts of traditional Celtic music on a Boehm-system flute. He's a multi-instrumentalist, a versatile musician specializing in Irish and Celtic music. And he's an Altus Flutes artist, an Azumi Ambassador, and he has first-class honors MA in Irish traditional music performance from Limerick University. So he's also an accomplished classical performer. We're going to check out his Irish music on the Silver Flute book. We're going to check out his Clearwater sessions, and he's got a lot of advice for me to practice how to sound like a better Celtic flutist. Welcome to PorterFlute Pod. I'm so glad you're here. Philippe Barnes, welcome to PorterFlute Pod.
Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here.
I am here with Alan J. Tomasetti, who's behind the scenes helping me produce this podcast because I am in new territory exploring the Irish flute. You have a book and you have traditional Irish music, but then you have this fusion. So that's what I was kind of wanting to touch on today, the nuance, the pulse, the cultural identity of the Irish flute. And you're an altus player, how the modern silver flute can authentically serve your Irish music tradition.
I started with silver flute and then eventually got into playing Irish music and really couldn't find a good wooden flute at the time. This was, 30 years ago maybe. And it was not something that I had access to getting or knew how to go about getting a decent wooden flute. I started trying to play the music on my Boehm-system flute and adapting all the stuff I was hearing, all the folkwork summer schools and listening to all the kind of trad albums and wanting to do all that stuff, and still couldn't get a decent wooden flute until I went to Limerick University to do my master's in 2007. And I was studying Boehm-system flute with Niall Keegan, and he was just really keen for me to get a wooden flute and get more, happy with that. So that's when I got my first wooden flute, which was a Seth Gallagher, I think. Eventually ended up with this one from Aaron Olwell, who is in Virginia most of the time. His father, Patrick Olwell, and his brother Matt as well is now apprenticing making flutes with them. Before getting to this one, I went through loads of different wooden flutes trying to work out what was the right one for me. And it's that difficult balance of, is it not right for me because I don't know how to play it properly, or is it because it's not good enough, or is it not the sound that I'm looking for? And if you're just starting out trying them, it can be hard to know. Like, you look at players you really love, like, so a big Matt Malloy fan, Mike McGoldrick, Brian Finnegan, or he mainly plays whistle, but great flute player too, Jean-Michel Villon, and like looking at, so what flute do they play? Maybe the reason they sound so good is because they're playing that flute. And mostly they sound that good because they're who they are, and it's just kind of an accident which flute they're playing, but you can hear the kind of differences between them. What I've settled on is a Pratten style, and the Pratten normally has like a one-piece middle, and it's a louder flute with bigger holes, so you get more volume, as opposed to the two other main types you get, the Rudel and Rose, which should be a smaller bore, smaller holes, maybe a more like refined, sweeter sound, and actually what a lot of my favourite flute players play on. Really like where you're playing, how much volume do you need, how much cut do you need, what kind of style of sound do you like? you get players like Hammy Hamilton and Conor Grada playing really big board flutes with big holes that take loads of breath, but the result is a really powerful rhythmic sound. And people like Orla McAuliffe, a very good friend of mine here in London, she was 23 times All-Ireland champion of flutes and whistles and all kinds of other stuff. I probably got the numbers wrong, but and she plays a Hammy Hamilton flute, which has a really big bore and has this massive, incredible sound. And I had the same flute as her for a bit, but I just felt like I couldn't kind of drive it properly, and I always felt like I sounded like a sort of poor imitation of her. But I loved the tone. There's some videos on my YouTube of me playing.
Is this kind of the same as if I was to say, I would like to try a Louis lot, but really keep it for when I'm playing Mozart and the early classics, Beethoven Serenade, for instance. I played a Louis lot for Beethoven Serenade, and it was just stunning.
You know, flute players always want something different, and they want maybe a different flute to do a different job, or people started making flutes that were louder, so you have people going, oh, well, I want to be really loud as well. It's that kind of balance between volume and control, and like having a really interesting tone that you can shape. I feel like that starts to disappear as the flute gets louder and more projecting. There's always going to be a trade-off between the things. The Altus flute, I originally particularly liked that it was based on the old French flutes, and my old 1607 was quite a small bore, and it felt like I could get all those kind of tonal nuances that I wanted to copy the wooden flute sounds much easier from this flute. One of my friends was playing an American flute that was like incredibly loud, and it made it sound amazing. But it just didn't feel right for me. I guess it's also hard to know whether it doesn't feel right for you because you haven't spent 10 years playing that style of.
So I'm going to use some words. I wash my air across the lip plate. I pretend I'm drawing a bow. I make the aperture small and blow slower. So that's kind of what I would do for Baroque music. Let's say I go downstairs and get my flute out after this interview. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with my airstream and my vibrato and my whole attitude? How am I going to do that? How do you do that?
Vibrato is an easy one. We just smooth that out. We've got other things we're going to replace that with. And I'm not, with any of these things, I'm not saying absolutely never. I'm saying generally for taste, it would be my preference. So instead of, tell me if that sounding all right, coming out too loud or anything. We're going to have a nice, just kind of nice even sound.
And pull back in a way. I feel like you didn't blow so fast.
Probably the way I would describe the air is more like when you put your finger over the end of a garden hose and it makes the water kind of go like a flat stream. I'd be looking to make it quite a flat, wide airstream. Especially when we get to like the low D to get that kind of rich sound.
Flat bottom lip.
Yeah, with the French smile, like to.
My British mother gave me wonderful wrinkles for the flute. I always tell people I would never get rid of these, right? Because then you got your flat bottom lip. Now you're taking the sound and you're putting a cap on it and then lying it kind of low and slow and just like going. Now let's talk about technique. Like your fingers are super, like they're low to the keys, right? You're not trying to be exact. You're jamming.
What looks like a really relaxed kind of finger spacing is actually it's making them deliberately less effective, because when we do a really good hand position, there's a reason, right? So we can play stuff fast with as little effort as possible. But what I'm trying to do here is make it less effective so I have more control. Because if the movement is from here to here as opposed to here, Do you see what I mean? By making the lever bigger, and it makes a tiny, tiny bit of a difference, but it gives you a different feel the way the fingers move. In my head, I found when I was writing out the book that there was a load of stuff that I was doing with my fingers which wasn't making any difference to to like, especially like an ornament or something. I'd be like, something's going on over there. No, that's not doing anything. It's just...
Wrote a book about it. Is this all in the book? You know, the brain dump of everything you know?
I mean, I keep thinking of new stuff that I'd like to add to it. But for me, it's a real good starting point that quickly covers all of the things and it's not like a 500-page massive tome. It kind of gives you each ornament a couple of tunes to practice it in. So we talk about when we take out that vibrato, we want to replace it with some character. We're going to use feathering, which I'll show you what it is that I'm trying to copy. Get that lovely flat sound, but then just that finger vibrato to slightly alter the timbre without altering the pitch. And I mean, as a rule of thumb, like 2 notes away from the note you're playing is a good note to be doing the feathering, because you want it to be something that will affect the timbre, but it won't affect the pitch. And there's less notes that you can do it on successfully on the Silver Flute, but there's some really nice ones like that F sharp. Yeah, it just kind of gives those notes a bit of character.
It's Irish flattement. We thought there was no vibrato. But I find that that's a little bit of the spell, right, that vibrato brings. You were doing all that on long notes. So let's get a little bit more technical, since we have a technical audience. What, are there some rules we need to follow with the little ornaments?
There's a couple of reasons why you'd want to learn the style. One is that you want to do it a little bit more convincingly for like a theatre show or something, you know, a piece that you want to play. And the other is that you're starting down the road of wanting to learn Irish music properly, or, you know, any of the similar Celtic musics. And you want to start like learning tunes by ear, building a repertoire of tunes. You want to go to sessions. You want to then, even though you've worked out how to do it on the Silver Flute, you eventually buy yourself a wooden flute, and then a wooden flute in C and one in B flat and one in E flat, and then you buy a big bag of whistles, and then end up with a big bag of whistles in every key.
I love that.
This is only a small, a few.
So how do we know what to do when, as far as these beautiful ornamentations that you're doing with your keys?
Let me give you the quick kind of...
Quick and dirty. Let's do it.
So we've got the feathering to add a bit of character when we're playing a long note. We might want to slide in or out of a note. And I sort of generally not a big fan of them, but there's always a place for them. It's slightly easier with open holes, but a lot of this stuff, pretty much everything you can do closed hole. I think it's only maybe the sliding. Like maybe going from like D to E is quite easy to slide the finger off, and F sharp, E to F sharp. And I'm using the wrong F sharp. Next thing is to add a cut, because we want to build up to doing a roll and a cran. So the idea is, instead of tonguing all the notes, as well as taking away the vibrato, taking away the tongue most of the time. So instead of articulating, starting the music with the stream with the tongue, we're going to just start from nothing. So it's not really I'll talk about the glottal stops and stuff in a minute. But once we start the stream, so there's no hard tongue terse sound on the front, and once we've started, we're using our fingers to articulate, not the tongue. So if I'm playing like this tune, I'm just using the fingers like, and it's a combination of cuts and taps, it's called. So the tap is where you're just literally tapping. And I'm playing an F sharp and I'm tapping on the F natural, but you can't hear that it's an F natural. You just hear that little blip in the sound, because all the ornamentation is supposed to be rhythmic, not melodic. So whereas we might have, in classical music, you want to hear the note. It's there, you know.
Exactly. There's some lifting of phrases. There's dance rhythms. Can you explain maybe some dance rhythms that I might not know, that I might want to learn?
Okay, so there's a few main ones. First one is reels 4/4. Just a.
Okay, and reels are 8 bars or 16 bars?
So you'd have an A part, usually an A part and a B part. A part is 8 bars repeated. B part is 8 bars repeated.
Thank you.
And you get 3-part reels, 4-part, 5-part as well. But the standard is those 8 bars repeated, 8 bars repeated. And usually they're made up of a lot of the same kind of melodic cells. So if you learn a bit of it, you've already learned quite a lot of it. Other types, okay, so jigs is the next one, like a 6/8 jig. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the way that 6 is divided, the kind of the rhythm of it varies depending on what kind of tradition it's from. So like you can hear it's not just da 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 da. It's like da 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 da. So it's like slightly delayed second beat. Slip jigs 9/8. So where we had the jig 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 2. So that's my favourite slip jig at the moment. It's my brain. It's Elizabeth Kelly's.
Wow, that's fabulous. Just to hear you go riff, it's just amazing.
I find because I mostly for sessions in London, like there's sessions all the time, and we go to any when we have free time, we run a couple, but a lot of the time I end up going to play guitar because there's not enough backers around who want to come and do the sessions, and my wife plays fiddle, so I'm like, well, we can go together and I'll play guitar, and if someone else turns up with a guitar, then I can switch to flute.
Can you talk about this Irish vocabulary that you have? You've talked about crans, and I was like, that's not a cranberry.
Okay, so the rolls and the crans, like a cranny you do on the bottom, so the Irish pipes. Where am I going with this? The Irish pipes, or like a whistle. If you've got D as your lowest note, so you've only got the 6 holes and then nothing below it. Same on the pipes. You can do the rolls everywhere. But then when you get to the bottom note, you can't do a roll, because a roll is a tap below and a cut above. So it's a bit like a mordant.
Okay.
But if we make those two notes, the higher note and the lower note, into just a rhythmic kind of break in the note, then you get the roll. It's a really nice kind of thing to do with like a crotchet or a dotted crotchet kind of worth of. When you get to the bottom note, you don't have a note below it, so you put both cuts above it, so you get.
Got it.
Now there's different versions of the cran which have lots of notes in, because I think originally when I was taught it, I was only doing it as those two. But then later I found that usually you start with, like pipers will do 1, 2, 3 in there as well. So you get those 3 little movements all happening. And then you might add the G before and after it to make it even longer. So. Yeah, so the cran is for that low one, but you can also do a cran then on other notes. Like a lot of the ornaments come from a particular idiosyncrasy of the instrument, but then they get transferred into places where it still sounds good, but it's not there because of a necessity, if that makes sense. Like you can cran on the A instead of a roll. But you don't need to cran there. You could do a roll. Using the trill keys, we can do that to some other notes. So like on a B, you can flick those trill keys and you get. If we add an A below.
Wow. Cuts, taps, strikes, rolls, crans, slides. So I love the freedom, these what we call trademark elements of Irish playing. It's indescribably beautiful, and it's even more daunting if you don't know what you're doing. So you're really making this more friendly for me. And now, as the nerd, I have to go on to talk about the tone variation, the breath pulses. You have these authentic, breath thing. Like, talk about the breath. I'm really into the breath. We breathe in service to the music. You seem to have breath like in the music.
I said before about not starting the note with the tongue. When we're keeping it going in the phrase, we're using the fingers to do the articulation, but the breath does have a pulse in it.
So what I hear you doing is you're holding the air in your mouth. So I would take this enormous phrase with my entire torso and I'd hold it in, right? And I would gear it in the efficiency. It doesn't seem like efficiency is highly on your radar. In fact, you're kind of like puffing your cheeks. Is that what we're aiming for? With just enough air to kind of get through these 8 bars and 8 bars? If you were to tank up, right? Tank up right now. Ready? Tank up. Take the biggest breath of your life. I'm going to play the opening of the Ibarra Concerto, but play your Irish music. I don't think it's going to work. Try it.
I think I'd. Yeah, there's too much air in this.
It's too much air.
What am I going to do with it all?
Exactly. We don't want to know. So you puff your cheeks and you go, I love that. That answers so much. It's so fun. Hey, did you write about all this in your book?
There's nothing about breath, but that's probably the next one. But this one's all about the ornamentation, and there's some tunes to learn. And I think it's a good start for people. I mean, a lot of people have asked for videos, and there aren't any specifically with the book, but I do have a Patreon which has video lessons for the whole book. And I think it's quite cheap, and you can just subscribe for a bit and stop whenever you like and stuff. I don't have any space for students at the moment, but which might change at some point. But then the Patreon's a good way for people to get a bit of the, find a bit of the magic. But to start to play trad, like there's a lot of start learning music by ear, getting more repertoire going. Like I think it is really good to learn by ear, and it seems really daunting at first, but it's like anything. If you do it bit by bit, it can be a really valuable thing later on. And I mean, definitely, there's a lot of good resources that are written out, so it's really handy to be able to read music. And like I have so many friends who have come from the other side of it, where they play trad, can't read music at all, and I'm just blown away that they can't. And I'm like, but you play so amazingly and with these incredible variations, and they're like, well, I just never really needed to. And a lot of them just read, just the note names written out. There's a sort of shorthand way for writing trad tunes like that. But I came from, I would say, it's like whatever one you start doing first kind of starts to override the other one unless you're really careful to balance them. Like I started reading music before I started trying to learn by ear, and I've always struggled more with the ear learning than the reading. Like no problem at all with reading stuff, but my wife is a great trad fiddle player, and she doesn't really read music. She can, but prefers not to. But she could pick something up a million times quicker than I could at a session.
You said it best and really made me take a breath. You said, it's what we're used to growing up with, whether we learned this is the dot on the line, or this is the feel, this is the ease, this is not so much this is the pitch. Now, what makes me want to judge the person who has no musical training, and who am I? It's half of me wants to walk up and go, hey, okay, did you know that that's an A, or do you want to know where middle C is? But it is not my place, because that person's going to look at me like, no, I don't want to know where a middle C is. I mean, I think we all have to check ourselves when we start judging, oh, well, that person didn't start, reading music. I used to say, hey, Dad, that doorbell's a B flat. And just as a joke, because he knew I was right, he'd say, I bet it's a B natural. And then we'd go test it on a piano, and I was right. And that's how we realized I was developing this pitch.
Yeah.
So in music theory, I was the opposite of you, and they held down a chord. They'd say, Porter, what chord is that? I'd say, I don't know, but it's A flat, F, D, and I would just name all the pitches. So I feel like let's take an honest moment, everybody, and just check ourselves when we start judging those who have not learned the traditional classical way and those who have not learned, who have only learned by ear. And, we do crawl up in a chair and as classical musicians and get all nervous and scared of not being perfect. So I highly suggest, if you're not into the jazz route, you're not into the improv route, you're not into anything, I think Irish music is starting to become a nice go-to for the person who can needs to let go a little bit in classical music. Do you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a lovely community as well. You can there's sessions all over the world, everywhere you go. Like we were just in Barcelona in the summer and found a really nice session, some great tunes there. I think the main thing with any of it is listening to the stuff that you want to sound like, and then trying to emulate that yourself. And that's how I worked out how to do all the ornamentation stuff. And some stuff, it's much easier if you can see it written in the book and you can go, oh yeah, that's or someone can show you how to do a roll. You're like, okay, that makes sense. But the best way to know where to put them is to listen to lots of, get signposted to great musicians that you should be listening to, but also find the stuff that really speaks to you. And because I can suggest people to listen to, but sometimes that'll be a bit like far down the road of what you might enjoy coming into it. Might go to a Celtic festival in the States and see a band with bagpipes and drums that's kind of might be considered on the more cheesy side of trad, but that might be a good route in, and then eventually you'll end up listening to old archive recordings of Miko Russell and stuff.
I see. So you generally start taking the journey. Well, you took the fusion route. And you took this traditional Irish style and put modern piano accompaniment to it. So talk about how you've written music, and learning to write music. Has that helped you, be a composer?
I think, there's a lot of stuff that's led to that recent album I did with Tom Phelan, the piano player. This guy.
There it is. Yes, I love it. I listened to it this morning.
I have to. It's better on the blue vinyl, honestly.
Wow.
But I'd always wanted to make up I was always kind of making up my own tunes in my head and stuff. And then when I started having lessons, I really liked the bits. They always try and, make you write your own little tunes for things, and that I always enjoyed that. It's taken a long time for me to have a sense of the harmonic side of it, because although I'd learned guitar and piano a bit when I was younger, I hadn't really understood how the harmony was working until I did a lot more guitar playing later and backing trad tunes and having to work out what was the best chords to go behind things. And this album is very much a collaborative composition for all of it. So where I used to work with Tom before, I'd bring a tune and he'd just do all of the stuff. Sometimes I'd be like, I'm not sure I like that there, but I don't know why or what I want that's different. But from playing so much guitar, now I can give him the tune with the chords that I think it should be, and then he'll change them to what he thinks it should be. But it's close to what I'm imagining. And I think it's very much like the piano parts are they're infinitely better than any piano part I would write, which would be very basic. But it feels like it's a conversation between the two of us rather than a piano accompanying the flute.
Yeah. Is this one of your most meaningful projects so far?
I think so, yeah. I felt like we finally got the flute sound right as well in the studio. Obviously I've spent years doing home recordings and trying to get the best mics and set up for all of that. I do a lot of kind of remote recordings for people, so was trying to get that kind of absolutely perfect flute sound that I'm really happy with. And then doing gigs when people mic you up with the flute and you're like, this is the wrong mic, this doesn't sound good, you can't hear the flute player. Or if I'm going to watch a flute performance somewhere and I'm like, sometimes you just where I want to stand is right next to the guy, right next to whoever's playing. I want to be able to hear what they're hearing, and because so much of the kind of nuance of the flute gets lost in the acoustic and the distance between you and the player. So we really kind of used a big ribbon and a condenser to get real up and close and try and get all the kind of breath sound that it's a real part of the...
There it is. That's going to be in volume 2. The breath sound.
Yeah.
It's written for this gap that you're trying to fill.
Yeah, it's aimed squarely at classical flute players who want to start exploring a different genre, whether that's Irish music or a lot of other stuff is going to use similar techniques. And I think a lot of the Ian Clarke's pieces and a lot of the modern repertoire has a lot of things going on to shape the sound in a different way we used to. And when I was trying to work out how to do all this stuff 20 years ago, it wasn't the same. There wasn't the same explosion of like incredible writing for kind of modern flute stuff.
So you've accomplished so much in such a short amount of time in your young life. What are you looking forward to doing next besides Volume 2? Are there upcoming tours or albums in your future?
I'm doing a lot for a computer game at the moment, Genshin Impact, I think it's called. It's a big Chinese game. Doing loads of like Irish pipes and wooden flutes and whistles. It's a lot of music. Which is brilliant that computer games are getting real orchestras and real musicians, because they had the London Symphony, I think, doing the orchestral parts.
So you're sitting and recording where for hours? And is this one of those things where you get to send it in? It's
a mix, as I do a lot of stuff remotely, which I like because I can spend as much time as I like on something, even if I don't have to.
Correct.
I can just be wearing my sweatpants
yes.
And, making coffee whenever I like. But a lot of that one's been done in a studio here in London. So it's a real mix. I had my first request to do recording with the software where they control the session at the same time. I can't remember what it's called, but then you're on video call whilst you're recording at home, and they're getting the sound in real time between the interface. I'm like, well, this, in some ways, I'm like, yeah, that's great, because then it's definitely done in the time window. You get real-time feedback about whether they like what you're doing, because a lot of times people, they want a real musician, but they don't want it to sound different to the demo that they already have.
Okay, that makes no sense to me. Sorry, does it make a whole lot of sense to you? I want to sound like my MIDI. I want to sound like my MIDI track.
Yeah. I saw a drummer posted something about it the other day, and I was in the studio last week, and I played what I've really felt like was the most expressive thing I'd ever played in my life. And I thought, I'm really pleased with that. They're going to love this. And they were like, could you play it exactly like the score?
Okay. So you take that you love, and you just make a record over it. Like, just riff on it. Have a session on that. 8 bars that you wrote.
I think I've always loved the use of the flute in different kinds of music. Like, the reason I got into playing Irish music, because I'd heard James Galway and the Chieftains.
Yeah.
The flute player in the Chieftains, Matt Malloy, is an absolute legend of flute playing. But I'd been into the record stores, and before I knew who he was, I didn't know his albums were flute playing, because at the time it was just the ones with his face on. And they had, like the Mike McGoldrick album had a flute on the cover. So I was like, well, that's flute. I'll definitely get that. It wasn't as easy to look stuff up or, find stuff out. So it was a while before I realised that Matt Malloy album was flute. But
it's so great to mention Sir James Galway in all this, because we all wouldn't be here without him and his love and his influence. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had some really great experiences in a masterclass with Jeannie Galway as well when I was a teenager, doing my classical penance. And
your classical trad. I really don't use that word, so I'm going to start using it. So we saw you in Atlanta. We probably passed in the hallway. I stayed only 2 days. I lasted only 2 days. But so you taught a class at NFA. Are you going to go on tour again? We hope to see you again. You going to come back?
I'm not sure. I probably won't go to NFA next year, maybe the year after. Okay. I've just got a really busy summer. I have a trio called the Wilderness Yet, which is a kind of traditional folky trio.
What's the
singer,
instrument Singer, flute, and
So it's fiddle.
fiddle. Okay.
But we also, I'd say I mostly play guitar with them and a little bit of flute. And then I reluctantly am part of it when we do 3-part harmony songs. And our last album is all 3-part harmony, which I never thought would be something I was doing. But that's a really fun band.
We can't wait. We can't wait to hear that. We have some rapid fire questions to wrap up the podcast. What's your favorite tune type to teach?
I think my favorite tune type to play is usually like jigs, or I'd say slow airs, because I think the slow airs are really, especially if you can teach someone a slow air by ear, then they'll remember it forever. If I read something on a bit of paper, I can read it straight away, but then it's gone. You know, it's not gone into the part of my brain that's going to remember it. If I learn a tune by ear, maybe it'll take half an hour, but then that's there forever. And I think like there's so many really beautiful slow airs which are just used. They're really good, especially if you go to going home for Christmas and someone goes, "Oh, I'll play something on the flute," and you're like, "Oh, do I have to?" I've been playing all day, all year. But if you got a little slow air, you can.
So I'm going to go downstairs into the practice parlor and play a slow air with all my wonderful things that I've learned in my fingers and my airspeed and my all those wonderful things I've just learned. One tune that every flutist should learn first, would you say still that's a slow air?
Easy jig. Those breeches full of stitches, that's a good classic polka to get started with.
Breeches full of stitches, got it.
A tune that you enjoy and you want to learn and you want to keep it in your repertoire. There's no point wasting time learning tunes you don't like.
Yes. Now, what's a common mistake that flute players make when approaching the Irish flute from the Boehm-system flute?
I'd say the vibrato thing is usually a big one.
We started with that, didn't we?
Yeah. There's a tendency for classical flute players to want to play everything up an octave if they can. And in trad, it's like, it's better if you're going to change octave, an octave down is cooler. It's about grounding it, and it's being about part of the whole sound, that it's a kind of community effort. It's more like being, say, like a session, it's more like being in a choir than being the soloist with an orchestra. So like you're not going to the session to perform. You're going to the session to be part of that sound.
Alan put in my chat here, check out the session.org for traditional tunes to learn.
Yeah, they have lists of like the most commonly requested tunes as well. So that's a really good way to start with, let someone else do the work for you and decide which are the tunes you should learn first. Yeah, the session.org is great. Also, there's an app called TunePal that you can use to record a tune that someone's playing, and it will tell you what the tune is and give you the dots. And I've seen people use that at sessions to see a tune and then join in. Now, some sessions have rules about no iPads. Some sessions are like super fine with people having music and iPads, and it's about keeping it enjoyable for everyone that's there. It's not about. I think people often think that some sessions are exclusionary, but really it's about, they're all inclusive, but they can't cater to everybody. Like you wouldn't go and sit down with a symphony orchestra if you weren't capable of doing it, and you'd know whether you were at the level to sit in with whatever was happening. But having said that, like most people are very happy for you to come and play a tune in a session or come and pick up some tunes, even if you're really new to it. Like people love that other people want to learn the music, and you might go to your local session and just listen a few times. You might go and ask them if there's any tunes they'd recommend you to learn, or maybe learn a set of tunes you can play yourself. You don't have to lead a set of tunes if you go to a session. Like people will often say, hey, do you want to start a set of tunes? And it's totally fine to say, oh, not today, maybe next time. But people are asking you because they want you to know that it's okay for you to do it, not that you have to, if that makes sense. Like, this can be quite scary sometimes going to a session with a lot of people you don't know, but most people are absolutely lovely and really happy that you're there, and happy that other people want to play the music. It's a real sharing situation.
Assuming they all have traditional instruments, were you ever thrown some shade because you brought in a Boehm-system flute to a session?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's affectionately referred to as the typewriter.
Oh, my goodness. The typewriter.
Which is funny. I mean, like...
Now I've heard it all.
It's like the whole point of this is to make every note... that every note can sound the same. Whereas with the Irish flute, like, you can see that all the holes are different sizes. And some of the things I like to do is putting those things... The things that are wrong with this, I mean, they're right with it, are things that we can... Like the fact that the C natural is a little bit weak and reedy on here, we can emulate that on the Silver Flute. And that the low D is like the loudest note, and you can get a really good strong sound out of that. Well, you play that hard low D because it sounds like where the pipes do it, they get an extra crack off the reed for the kind of the low note. But we can emulate those things. And the keys, it makes it technically fully chromatic, but it's super awkward to play in certain keys. And I've seen people do it incredibly. Even the guy that made this flute, Aaron Olwell, it's a lovely,
beautiful
copus wood with the sap,
yes,
showing through, and absolute work of art. But like he will play any tune in any key using all the keys on this and make it look easy. Play it left-handed, right-handed, riding a bicycle, whatever.
So there's a surprising advantage to the Silver Flute in Irish music.
Mm-hmm. So what's great for me is that I worked out all the ornaments that I could copy, and then found out that there's extra stuff you can do because of some of the stuff that's added to the flute. So I don't have a C-sharp trill key because I want as little as possible stuff attached to the flute, and that's probably mostly superstition. But I always felt like I wanted as little as possible things to be affecting the sound, like kind of clamping down on the harmonics. But I also really liked, because Gareth McLennan kept telling me I should get one, and it's totally unnecessary.
Speaking of Gareth, I am a Haynes artist. We let him know that we were speaking to you today. Not only does he say hello, but he's just really, really proud of you for transcribing your music so that others can have the joy of playing it.
Well, it took Gareth and I both auditioned at the Royal Northern the same year. And everyone else was sitting around looking terrified, and Gareth came up to me and said, do you want to go and play some duets or something, because this is boring. And we went and played duets for a couple of hours, and I think he was mostly just sussing out whether I was going to be competition for him.
Yes, he was.
Because he was like, so, how's your 3-octave scales? But we've been friends ever since, and he kept saying to me, I really love that piece on your Madrid Sessions album. I want to play it. Can you send me the music? And I was like, well, I haven't written it out. I guess I could. And it took about 10 years for me to finally getting around to writing out the flute part, getting Tom to write out the piano part. That kind of snowballed into me doing more of those pieces for flute and piano, which gives, to give people something that's, I feel like they're modern, they've got interesting piano parts, but they're also very melodic. I wrote it to play it myself, so I don't know. I think they're nice pieces for people.
Well, they're getting a lot of respect in the folk and Irish flute and flute world, and it's just wonderful. I know what that feels like, the 10-year wait. Just be patient, everybody. My trio Verado will have the these sessions that we jam on, people say, "Can I get your arrangement?" And I look at my guitarist, and he, when do we have the time? So hopefully, I know we'll publish our music, our trio music editions. So what's your next project? An album?
And then I'm working on a new kind of bigger fusion project. We did a couple of test videos with the band a few years ago, and I'm just gradually getting around to finishing all of that. And I'm practicing the pipes as my main job at the moment.
Okay.
Because of the Irish pipes, because I've been doing it quite a lot, but
well, I have had such a great time getting to know you. Can you tell us where we can get your book?
So the best places are Flute World in the US and Just Flutes in the UK and Europe. The places you can come to my website as well. So philippebarnes.com, and I'm on Instagram. Those are the kind of places I regularly post stuff, and I have the Patreon with the videos up.
Philippe Barnes, it has been my pleasure to host you in PorterFlute Pod, and I hope to meet you in person one day, and I'm going to get your book, and I'm going to send you mine, and this has just been so inspirational. And thank you, Alan J. Tomasetti, for helping produce the episode.
Thank you.
Don't forget to check out aosworkshop.com. Our story is always unfolding. Thanks for being in PorterFlute Pod. I'm so grateful for you.